extremely complex. The thing of it is, it's really, really simple. And the more and more and more I learn this, I think, gosh, is there a point at which I can't learn it anymore? Because it seems to me like I've spent like 30 years learning this one thing, literally. Because it is simple. We make real estate really, really complex. And there's only a few simple things to go from your goal setting and what it is that you really want to actually achieving it. And it's not that hard. What do you think it takes? If it's simple and it's not that hard, then why aren't more of us getting it done? Mindset. You say it's lazy, mindset, time blocking.
Boring.
What is it? It is boring. There's no question about it. Let's write these down because it's true. Being successful in real estate, keeping it simple, is very boring. Why is it boring, Rich?
It's doing the same thing day after day after day after day after day
After day, after day. And here's the other thing. There was a book. I think it was Malcolm. Somebody wrote it. But anyway, you know I can't remember the title. But it was about 10,000 hours. If you put outliers, or if you put in 10,000 hours, you can become like, Michael Jordan of basketball, right? The truth is, that's not true. It's only true if you are very purposeful about those 10,000 hours. So there's no question in my mind that probably every single one of you in the room are working hard. But you're probably still not getting the results that you want. It's because we make it way too complex. And it is boring because you're going to do the same thing day after day after day after day. And we go in and want to muck it up because we get bored. So why else aren't we achieving the goals that we set? Why is there such a huge disconnect?
Not a strong enough why behind it.
That's a great one. Do you have a strong enough why behind it? Because the why is the motivation. You can take someone, let's use DISC language, you can take someone that's not a high D, and they can perform at an incredible level if they've got a big enough motivation behind them. So motivation, do you have a big enough why behind what you're doing? What else? What else keeps us from achieving?
No systems or procedures in place.
You don't have any procedures in place, so could we call that habits? So aren't systems just a way to remind you of a habit you need to be doing, right? So if you ever do anything in your business more than a couple of times, you need a system around it. A system is just a way of habitually doing a certain thing. So habits, some people call it discipline, but habits. Do habits have two B's?
No.
Okay. Then forget what I wrote yesterday, something about habits. I don't think I put two B's in it. It was right this morning. I'm like, I didn't put two B's in it.
That's right.
I don't know why I didn't spell check me. Okay. So, and the only time you forget how to spell is when you're up in the front of the room. That's the only time. Okay, so habits, so some people call this discipline, right? So anything else that you can think of that keeps us from, we all can set goals. I don't know that anybody struggles with that unless they're young and they've just never set them before. But there's a huge, huge disconnect between the execution thereof. Why else? Yes, ma'am.
Maybe a fear of success, like that you'll be, like it's too much success and then it's just like too much to manage. What do you
Okay.
do when you
So
start
fear of
having all that?
success.
You look at the outcome, so a lot of times I think before is, if I don't know how to do it, then why would I write it down? And I've learned many disciplines to write down, because how to will come through the process of learning. You gotta figure out how to have this all done first, or then I can write it down.
Right, so we actually are our own worst enemies. Because we think, well, how am I gonna do that? Well, what does everyone need to do? And the point is that for me, I'm always trying to set goals big enough that that I have absolutely no idea how I'm gonna achieve it. Because that causes me to think, it also causes me to rely on other people, right? So these are all the reasons that there's a huge disconnect. Now, if you look at the successful people, and I mean the uber successful people in the country, like I had an opportunity to meet, have any of you met a billionaire? Like face to face, billionaire, who have you met?
Patrick Shumshaw, he owns a biotechnical company.
Okay, is he into that cryptocurrency? Okay,
Oh, no, he's not even from
okay. Who?
He's a privately held home builder here in the valley.
Privately owned held one. Anybody else ever met a billionaire? Yes, who would you meet?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett, impressive. Yep, that's a billionaire.
I like to hang out around Bill Gates when he's senior, Nordstrom, Bill Parks, and Jeff Seattle.
That's pretty amazing.
I was serving them,
Okay,
but I was
still met him, right?
Yeah.
So, last Wednesday, I met Mr. Hendrick. Mr. Hendrick owns Motorsports. He's a billionaire. And when I met him, I'd be interesting to see if any of you have the same thing. He's the nicest, most humble man on the planet. You would never ever know he has anything. And all he taught us for 3 hours is how to change a tire on a NASCAR. How to change a tire on a NASCAR. Like, okay, so, but we learned a lot through learning how to change a tire on a NASCAR car. So, but meeting a billionaire and learning from him about the difference between wildly average and wildly successful, and how do you take goals and actually make them and execute on them. So here's all the reasons why it doesn't happen. Tell me some of the reasons why it does. The people that are successful, what do they do?
Your image that and put it into action.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do they do all the doing, Mike?
No.
No, they don't. They don't do all the doing. Are all, let me ask you a question, be honest, how many of you in the room are trying to do all the doing every day? Most of us, right? So, first of all, they work with and through other people. What else do successful people do? Yes?
They have coaches.
They have coaches. Oh my gosh, what a concept. They have coaches. What else do they do? Yes?
Schedule's tight.
Their schedule is tight. So tell me what you mean by that, Dawn, because I have a, if I didn't know what I know, I would, the people in this room probably have a different idea of what that means. What does that mean?
Well, they follow their schedule.
They do follow it.
There's room in it to be flexible.
There,
It's not
that's
so
what
tight
I
that
wanted
they
him to say. Because when he first said that, I bet you thought the schedule was so tight there was no room for anything extra in it. And that's exactly the opposite of the truth. They leave room for opportunity in their schedule, but they follow their schedule. Okay? So he brings up a really good point. They follow a schedule and they leave room for opportunity in that schedule. Right? Now, how many of you think that, for instance, someone like Mr. Hendricks, how many of you think, you know, well, if they're billionaires just because they got super duper lucky? Everything went their way. Just because they're successful in business and just because they made a lot of money does not mean they haven't had challenges. He was running in a race. So Mr. Hendrick, I don't know how old he is, but my guess he's in his 70s, was racing. He was actually the race car driver. And in that race, he told everyone in his company, if I don't win this race, we're done. So Mr. Hendrick owns several Chevrolet dealerships across the country. That's how he made his money. Motorsports has to be his passion. And if you saw my Facebook post, so does collecting guitars, collecting footballs, collecting, he gets every single, the first Corvette and the first Camaro off the line every year. Pays $1.5 million for them, and then donates them to charity. So here's the thing, but he said, if I don't win this race, we're done. Like, I have laid it on the line. How many of you have laid it on the line? Interesting. He laid it on the line. He won the race. Now you kind of know the rest of the story. You think, okay, everything went great. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who will be racing the second to his last race this weekend here in Phoenix, was best friends with Mr. Hendrick's son. His name was Ricky. And during the last turn of a practice race, he hit the wall and was killed. Dale Earnhardt Jr., his best friend, said to Mr. Hendrick, I will drive for you. I will become a great driver. I will help you with this company. Then, 10 years later, they're coming home from a race, and pilot error, the plane crashes. His brother is killed. His brother's 2 daughters are killed. His NASCAR staff was killed. Everyone in the plane was killed. And he went, that was on a Sunday, he went to the office the next morning and stood in front of his company and talked about the losses they're feeling for the company. Didn't talk about, he just lost his son. So what's interesting is that what I want you to also see is that people that are successful, it's not because they didn't have obstacles to overcome. Almost all of them did. Almost all of them put it on the line. They didn't play it safe. Now we're going to talk about that for a second, and then we're going to get into visioning. Playing it safe. Give me an example in 2017 where someone played it safe instead of playing to win.
The Atlanta Falcons in Super Bowl.
There you go. I bet Belichick went into the locker room at halftime and said 24 points will not beat us. The Falcons were just happy to be there. So the point is that when you show up in a place where you know you kind of don't belong, you're probably not going to win. The Falcons had never won a Super Bowl. With 24 points, they were praying for the clock to wind down. Do you need me?
I need Mr. Ralph. Sorry.
What do you think the New England Patriots were doing? Were they praying for the clock to wind down? No, they're like, we got 7 more minutes. We got 4 more minutes. People who play to win are always thinking about they have more time. People who are playing to win or to lose are watching the clock. Or playing, not to lose. They're playing not to lose. They're playing not to lose. So the question for you guys today, are you playing not to lose or are you playing to win? Are you sabotaging yourself? I'm not saying you, but you are. Are you sabotaging yourself because you have a fear of success? Are you playing to not lose by not creating the habits that you know that are going to that are going to be required for you to win? Do you have a bigger why than just getting up every day and eking through this life? Are you willing to work with and through other people? Are you willing to work with and through other people? Are you willing to follow a schedule? Are you willing to leave flexibility in that schedule for when opportunity shows up? And are you willing to lay it on the line? So there's no right or wrong answers to those questions, but what I want you to think about is most people, when they look at a Bill Gates, when they look at they just call him Mr. H, Mr. Hendrick, when they look at those people, they think they had it all, their parents gave it to them, it was easy for them. They think all those things that just aren't true. Most people that are successful in Keller Williams, most of the top 1%ers, and we have some of the 1%ers in this room, Rich and others, they're successful because of what they, as much as, not just so much about what they do, but what they've decided to not do. Most of us have too much on our plate, and we're always looking to learn the next new thing, and we've never finished the stuff on our plate that we have. We aren't narrowing our focus so that we can actually win. And so how many of you have actually been in a situation where you have doubled your business in 1 year? So very few of you. If you haven't been there, how do you know what it's like to get there? Would you think that if you've never been there before, you might have to change some things if you want to do it? Then the question is, how committed are you to that change? See, I'll give you an example. 10, 15 years ago, I was not what you would call a people person. Now, my business partners, Rich and Jim, would still say I'm not the most people person on the planet, but I'm better. And when I need to, I can be. What I learned is, some of us are task oriented, some of us are people oriented. And what I learned was that I had to be willing to learn to work with and through others if I wanted to double my business, if I wanted to succeed at a higher level. I couldn't do it all. There are not enough hours in the day. And I had to be motivated by something bigger than myself. Yesterday, and when I say these stories, I'm not saying them. I'm not saying them because it's really about me. It's just the story that I can think of the fastest in my head right this second. But yesterday, yesterday afternoon, I was in a homeless shelter. I was a homeless shelter because my why is bigger than, I have a big enough why. I wasn't in a homeless shelter because, serving in a homeless shelter is my passion. Seeing those kids come out of there and succeed is. So, are you using the passions that drive you naturally? Have you found something bigger than yourself? Have you found a bigger why? So when we think about that, what do you think most reasons are that people, when it comes to living a big life, why don't they live a big life? What is it?
It takes something.
Yeah, it does. It takes something to live a big life. Let me ask you this. Lori, do you think you deserve it?
I do, but that's what I was gonna say. A lot of people don't think they deserve it.
They don't think they deserve it. They don't think they deserve it. So do you think somehow God said Lori is more special than Jim, or, do you really think that we have a God like that says that some people are more special than others? I don't believe that for a second. The question is, do you think you deserve it? And the other thing is, why do you think people, like if they have this big vision to go do this thing, why don't they go do it too? What's another reason? It can be hard. But that's not the number one reason I hear.
Not ready to sacrifice where they're at.
Yeah, they'll have to sacrifice where they're at.
Fear they may fail?
They're afraid of failure. They put something too big out there and it doesn't happen. Right? What else? What is it? They don't have the money. Here's what they'll say. Well, yeah, if I had the money like Mr. Hendricks, I'd donate $1.5 million to that hospital too. Do you think he always donated $1.5 million, or do you think there were times he was donating $10 in the church offering? The question is, the big opportunities seldom ever come. The small ones surround us every day. Are you picking up the small ones? So the reason that people don't have a big vision for their life is because they think, I don't have the money and I don't have the people to help me. So my question to you is, what would it look like if you did have all the people to help you, and if you did have the money? If you had the money and the people that you wanted, how many, someone tell me a vision that they have that they want to achieve. Give away $100 million a year. But all you agree that's a pretty big flipping deal. That's a lot of money. If you give away $100 million a year, you got to be making 10 times. Well, not
You have to be a billionaire.
you have to be a billionaire. Okay, so what else would you guys go do if you absolutely, if failure wasn't an option, you would succeed? What would you want? What would you want? Have you allowed yourself to think about it?
I want an office in each state in the United States.
An office, a real estate office? Okay, you and I should get to know one another. What else? What do you guys want? Yes.
I'd like to be a cause for shifting humanity. Shifting humanity, like how humanity does itself. So like the world we're leaving for our children doesn't exist in the same way it exists. So like if somebody signs a peace agreement, it actually is a peace agreement. Or suicide doesn't exist in the way. Or you don't have to be afraid to send your kids to school, but don't be a shooter somewhere, or go to church.
Sure. Yeah. So, and what most people agree is if you're going to change the thinking of the world where start. The kids. You have to change their thinking. So, I happened to hear an opportunity that John Maxwell espoused last Friday, and he is putting 1.2 million educational pieces, a 36-week program into the children in Paraguay, starting in 2018. They start as sophomores, it goes through their senior year, and it costs $1 per kid to get that value-based education into the hands of 1.2 million. Now, do you think, John's 70 years old, do you think when he was 20 he was thinking about doing that? Might have been. But he said, I had to come up with a dream that was big enough that I knew that when it happened, everybody would say, there's no way John could have done that. Yes?
Can I share something else about, because as I've been actually going about designing myself to actually be doing that in the world, right, which is what I'm up to, I've noticed that it takes some things, so not just for kids, but actually for us as adults. Like it really will take a lot of people thinking, wow, it's gotta be me making a difference, or it's not gonna change. There's 7 billion.
There's chairs in my office.
And there's something else about it too, which is like the way that the green brain works, constantly just learning a bunch of stuff that's not always very great, or usually not very great. Like even if you're doing your positive reinforcement, your positive thinking, still, it takes something to just get out in the world and do the action that you say you're going to do, irregardless of whatever's going on in here. Is that stuff?
I call that a bad tape.
Yeah.
You've got a bad tape playing in your brain and you need to take it out and replace it with a good tape. What would that look like on a daily basis? Because do you think you just speak your affirmations in the morning and you never have another challenge throughout the rest of the day? What do you have to do throughout the day to take the bad tape out and put good tapes in?
Live outside. Live out here outside of the brain.
Yeah, and you've got to make sure whatever you're allowing in your brain is going to meet that end. Meaning, all of us are in the car. Some of us were in the car longer than we'd like to be because of traffic or whatever. So, from not just the affirmations, but then what are you purposely doing throughout the day to change your bad tape and put a good tape in? That's all part of success. You can just listen to the radio and do nothing, but you can also choose to be listening to something that puts something good in your brain. So here, one other thing. So I teach a class called ESO. In that class, I show my vision map. So, Casey, would you mind? Oh, Rich, you're not Casey. Walt Disney's vision map. I'm not sure. No idea what the password is. I'll probably go grab it. We'll bring up Disney's vision map here in a second. This was his vision of Disneyland, but he actually had a map, which I'm going to show you. He's printing them off for you too. But Walt Disney, when he created his vision map, were there things on it, Rich, that technologically had not been invented? And it was in 1957. So when you look at his vision map, the things that were on there, some of the things had never even been created yet. And here's the interesting thing, he found all these different businesses within the business, and then he found synergies between all of them. And so the question is, what are the synergies between them? So when you look at someone who has a big why and they're in real estate, most of the time the real estate is to fund the big why. It's to fund the big why. So the reason I want you guys to look at this for a second, and I'll talk about it in a second, is I am going to be 56 years old next month. Now here's what I can tell you. When I was 48 years old, this is my vision map. When I was 48 years old, on this map, there was only 3 things that existed. So up until the age of 38, where I lived in a world, and this is not against RE/MAX, it just is a factual statement, for 25 years, I was at that company, my vision map didn't get any bigger. I can tell you between the ages of 48 and 56, I did not get someone else's brain put in my brain and all of a sudden became smart. The difference difference is I surrounded myself with people who thought bigger than me, people that I could work with and through, like Jim, like Rich, who thought differently than me. And I was willing to step outside my comfort zone. I was willing, have we put it on the line a few times?
Yep.
We put it on the line. Have we sacrificed sometimes? Yeah, absolutely, we have. So today my vision map looks very, very different than it did 8 years ago. The only difference is I expose myself to other people who are willing to help me, who are willing to challenge me, willing to make me think differently than I'd ever thought before. And today I was listening, how many of you were at Bold last week? Did you do some goal setting? So my mom was there. My mom's 72. Yes, I have an older sister. Do the math, started young. And my mom, when I got home, I asked my mom what her goals were from the Bold class. And interestingly enough, what I thought to myself is, I need to help my mom think bigger. So my mom is 72, she's at real estate school today. My mom's getting her real estate license, and she's doing all these things that are way outside her comfort zone. And her whole purpose, her big why, do you know why she's doing it? 2 reasons. One starts with a K, and one starts with ends with a C. She wants to be around her daughter more, and she wants to be involved with what her daughter's involved with, because my mother, if you guys know my story, I was homeless at the age of 12. I never lived with my mother again, or my father. So do you think there's some big why in all that for her? So the thing of it is that today, I don't care how young or old you are, remember this, how old was Mo Anderson when she came to work for Keller Williams?
56.
She's the same age I am right now.
56.
She was 55. And how much money did she have? She not only didn't have any money, she said she got a credit card in the mail, and she said, what were her words? I called and authorized that sucker. And got on a plane and went to Austin, Texas, and the rest is history. So I don't care how old you are, and that's what I told my mom. It doesn't matter how old you are. The question is, most people think about retiring. In my view, there is no retirement. It's not, but it isn't a matter of how many days you have left. Do any of us know that?
Nope.
But what you do know, and what you do have the opportunity, is to do anything you want with the time you do have. So the question is, for all of you today, is what are you going to be purposeful about? What is it that you really want? So what I want you guys to do, we'll spend you're not going to create your entire vision map in 5 minutes, but you're going to get an idea. Here's what I want you to think about. Put real estate in the middle. I call this the funding mechanism. Real estate is a lever that allows you, as you have more and more success, to have access to more money for the good that money can do. So real estate is a funding mechanism for most of us to really go do what we want to do. So if money was not an object, if people was not an object, if you have all the people you need and all the money that you needed, what would you want to accomplish? What would you want to accomplish? Do you want to own a market center? Do you want to own several offices? Do you want to own a homeless shelter? Do you want to go to Africa and dig wells for water? Do you, and it might not even be that, some of you are really young. When I was your age, trust me, I wasn't thinking about this stuff. I was thinking about how am I going to actually make my house payment? That's what I was thinking about. How am I, it was even more dire than that. Because when the crash of 1986 through 1996 happened in Alaska, here's where you can go along. I was living in a efficiency apartment with my 3 children and a dog sleeping on a pull-out sofa couch. So, but I learned a lot by going through that. And today, I tend to be overly conservative because I've been there, don't wanna ever go there again, okay? And yet at the same time, how do you stay conservative to what you know can happen and yet lay it on the line? That's tough. It's gutsy. You're taking risks all the time. So what I want you guys to be thinking about is, given that you have, if real estate's in the middle, what are the other things that you would want to do that really are your passion? Because that's, at the end of the day, once we've done this and we start building your 135, that's what's gonna drive that. If you have nothing else in this world important to you other than selling another house, you're probably never going to be massively successful if you cannot figure out what that is that drives you. It might be money, because right now you might not have, might not have the money for the house payment next month. Or your children may need your help. I have 5 of them, trust me. They never really leave. And they always are an investment. Okay?
That salon was always open.
Yeah, so what other things would you want to do? And write down just a couple. Or write down as fast as you can. What are the things you want to do? And then what is the synergy between them? I'll give you an example. For me, the synergy between my funding mechanism, which is real estate, and Kristan's Home of Hope, the synergy for me is profit and legacy. The profit from my real estate company funds my legacy, which is my charity. So I'm always looking for, is it education, is it money, is it service, what is it? So I want you to think, so just be quiet for 5 minutes. I want you guys to think about what would I, because most of us, anything that you're gonna write down on that paper, you keep it back here all the time. Do you know why you don't bring it out here?
Do something about it.
You'd have to do something about it. You're afraid, because you bring this baby out here and you fail. What did I tell you last Tuesday, Derek, when we were sitting there about failure? Do you remember what I said to you?
No.
And do you remember, Nelda,
I
you remember,
remember.
because you heard it.
Okay, she said, we're not gonna fail because I've never failed at anything. Right?
Yeah. I said I've never failed at anything before in my life. Do you think that failure has knocked on the door a few times? But so one of our team members, Rick, out of Omaha, texted me and he wanted to have a call with me. I said, sure, absolutely, why? And he said, because I cannot fail at this. My family, I said, so when he said all that, I said, well, Rick, you're not going to. I said, do you know how I know? Question mark. He said, no, how do you know? I said, because you've already decided. Most of this, everything, I'm not going to teach anything new today. I'm just going to remind you of what's important. Because the bottom line is, you guys just have to make some decisions. And what John Maxwell would say is, you have to make decisions about approximately 15 things in your life, and hopefully you will have made those decisions by about 30. The rest of your life, you're just managing to those decisions. Managing to those decisions. So, take 5 minutes, write down what would you want to do, what's important to you, what do you value? If you had the money and you had the people to go get it done, what would you want to do outside of just real estate? Okay? Well, think about that, and oh, the vision map's up. So, one more thing on that, he wrote that in 1957, that map. And all those little lines between everything are all the synergy points between it. Like merchandise, licensing his merchandise, music, and the way he talks about music, it's like, that hadn't even been invented. So, do you think today we look at that map and go, oh yeah, of course. But in 1957, he's putting things on there that don't even exist. So how big are you really thinking? And how big you're thinking is just a product of where you are right now in your life. It's not a bad or a good thing, but the question is, what is it that you really want? What is it that you really want? Okay, so take 5 minutes and write down those things.
please snoop around, grab yourself coffee, get some coffee.
Happy morning. Okay, so who wants to share what, maybe one thing that they wrote down? I know it's kind of scary because now if you like say it, right? Yes.
I don't know. Go on tour with a rock and roll band.
Go on tour with a rock and roll band. I like that. I mean, I like music, so that sounds cool.
I'm not a musician, but my granddaughter is a songwriter, performer, and so producer, world tour.
That'd be fun. I like that idea. I mean, that's a pretty big, right? It's like I want to become an NFL football player. Well, only the 1% of the 1%ers ever do. Or, you know, Rich, you were a 1%er of a 1%er. You played Major League Baseball. I mean, it doesn't, that's a big goal. That's a cool goal, fun goal. Are you having fun? Okay, what else? Yeah.
The position doesn't exist yet, but it's all but over my mind, all but done my mind. It's the organizational psychologist for accountants, directly with theory, or millennial generation, helping them with their kids.
So we have to be the organizational psychologist for our company, Keller International, and work with millennials. You know, I don't know about you guys, I don't even know how to begin with. Right? I have to hire someone to do that, like, I don't have a clue how they think. But yeah, you're available. But that's a big goal, is it not? That's a pretty cool goal, it's a big goal. It's very purposeful. There's a lot more, I'm sure, behind that. Anyone else want to share theirs? Rich?
On the Major League Baseball team.
On a Major League Baseball team. So how many of you, well, I sent the picture to Rich.
Yeah.
So how many of you know who David Ross is? You know why you really don't know who he is? Because for 15 years in the major leagues, he was the backup catcher. And sometimes the backup to the backup. So my point is that you don't have to, or you can be invaluable without ever having been the most valuable player. He made himself invaluable as a teammate, which is why he played and was paid to play professional baseball for 15 years and was never a star player until the World Series. Anyone want to know what happened to him in the World Series? They called him out to play in the 5th inning. And he had not, I don't think he played a game in like 4 years. Like, he was there every day, and he hit a freaking home run. the point is, for 15 years, and he showed up to play, even though he wasn't good enough to be the player, but he was a great teammate. Do you think there's a lot of teams that need great teammates in order for there to be a great team? I guarantee you, he has 2 World Series rings. Rich, how many do you have? Right? This guy wasn't, you know, what is it, New York? What do they call him, Mr. October?
Yeah.
What was his
Reggie
name?
Jackson.
Reggie Jackson. He was not Reggie Jackson, okay? So they actually then, Steve, anybody know who Steve or Don Yeager is? Don Yeager worked for Sports Illustrated for years. Don Yeager wrote a book about this guy because he was cut from the Boston Red Sox because he didn't have a player's attitude. And he said, I'm gonna learn to be the best teammate on the planet. And he did, and for 15 years, he was the backup and sometimes the backup to the backup. But everyone said what a great team player was. So much so that a young guy that he started mentoring when they were in the World Series, that next year said, every hotel we go to, I want him to stay in the presidential suite and I'm gonna pay for it. So do you think you have to be the most valuable player to be invaluable to the team? You don't. Now, not only did Don Yeager write a book about him, but now they're gonna make a movie. So do you think 15 years ago when it was woe is me, you got cut because you're not a team player, you're purposeful about becoming a team player, and do you think every day for 15 years what he did was a little bit boring? He showed up to play for 15 years and never played. Are we willing to, I mean, that's a long time to wait to hit a home run in the World Series, right? But I think would all of us say, oh yeah, I'd work hard for 15 years if I know I was gonna hit a home run in the World Series, I was gonna end up with 2 World Series rings, and now this year, he was calling the game in California, got on a plane, flew to Charlotte, and spoke to us the next morning. Got on a red eye. And he was sitting there watching the game thinking, crap, if this goes into extra innings, I'm in deep doo-doo. I can't get to Charlotte. But do you think all of us would say, yeah, I'd work hard for 15 years, I'd show up every day for work, I would do everything humanly possible if I knew I was going to hit a home run in the World Series, and I knew I was going to get 2 World Series rings, and not only that ESPN was then going to hire me, and now I'm going to call the World Series the year after that. Of course we would. My point to you is all that's available to you. He had to make a choice every day to do the boring thing and to not have a reward for it, except doing what he needed to do, knowing that it all shows up eventually. Here's the deal, guys. Most of your success will show up in the 4th quarter. There's a layering effect. Yeah, you can have some success in the 1st quarter, 1st inning, and some in the 2nd, and some. But most games, are they not won or lost in the 4th quarter? Most games. Most of us will reap our rewards and our success in the 4th quarter. The question is, are you willing to do the boring thing every day until that happens? One more quick story, and then we're going to move on to the 135. In 2010, the day before my niece is getting married, I am running in a race in Alaska to prepare for a marathon that I'm supposed to run in October to raise money for brain cancer, because my friend James Nellos, who, oh by the way, Dawn, he was with Remax forever and a day. He was with Remax at the time, now he's with Keller Williams. Anyway, so we are going to run for brain cancer research, but specifically for brain cancer research for what his mother had. And all of the, 100% of the proceeds were going there. The day before my niece is getting married, I'm in Alaska, I'm running the Twilight, yeah, we have weird names for everything, Skinny Raven race, of which it's just over 7 miles, it's like 7.1 miles. At the 7th mile, I can see the green, so I can see the chute for the finish line, come up the hill, see that, and heard a snap, and snap my femoral head off at the top of my hip. Now, and you guys, it's I'm not saying it about me, just go with me that I'm trying to just do a point, and it just happens to be me in this picture because I know the story too well. So the question is, what would you have done? I don't think any of us know what we're gonna do at a point like that unless we've made decisions ahead of time. I'm never gonna quit. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna lay it on the line every day. You have to make those decisions before the tragedy or the confrontation happens. So here I was, I could see the chute was across like a football field because it was on a grassy, yeah, we have grass sometimes. And I did what I only needed to do, and that was hop a quarter of a mile to the finish line. And when I got to the finish line, they said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I'm in the most excruciating pain in my life." They put me in an ambulance, took me to the hospital, wheeled me into x-ray and said, "My God, you have completely," they shook me. Not only did you sever your femoral head from your hip structure, but now since you've hopped for a mile, it's back here and it's torn up all the meat, all the in the back of your leg. So we're not sure what we're going to do, but we're going to, they put me on a morphine drip, and the next morning the surgeon came in, and he said, you can't make this stuff up. I Googled you. Who does that? I Googled you and I know who you are and what you do, and you're not going to be doing that anymore. I said, I mean, who says that, especially right before you're wheeling someone into surgery or out of your ever-loving mind? It's like, seriously. And he said, I said, well, what do you mean? You know, like running? He goes, oh, you're running? No, you're never going to run again. But you're not going to be able to sell real estate either. And I'm thinking, wow, what planet did this guy drop off of? So just my attitude was that one of, oh, well, watch this, right? So I come out of surgery, I said, how long are you going to be here? They said, well, you're going to be here at least a week. I said, are you nuts? No, I'm not going to be here a week. They said, hey, you have to learn to do all these things, and you have to prove it to us and prove it to PT before you can leave. I said, give me the list. And did it and left the next day. I'm like, no freaking way am I staying here. Then, so I go home. You know, they said it's going to take 1.5 years to recover. They give you all the bad news. You're going to be on drugs. You're going to be on a walker. Blah. Well, I did the counting. And the day I went home from the hospital, it was 159 days until race day. Now, what are you guys thinking right now when I say that to you? The marathon that I was training for? I went home and I went, okay, there's 159 days until race day. My family was not happy with me when I announced that I was going to run that marathon. So what do you do in a situation like that when you have absolutely no idea how I was going to do that? Did I do it on my own? Lori's shaking her head, no. No, I flew here to Phoenix 3 different times to learn new rehab things from the endurance rehab over here that I didn't even know these people, but they were supposed to be the Lance Armstrongs, the best people on the planet. I went to Chicago's Verkus Rush Hospital, and Dr. Verkus, who's a world-renowned surgeon who operates on the team he used to play for, and found the best surgeon in the world to fix my hip and tell me what I needed to do. He said, you can do it. It is going to take everything humanly possible to pull this off. I said, will I hurt myself? Can I possibly hurt myself? He said, no, with what we have in there, you won't hurt yourself, but you might die, try it. He's like, this is not for the faint of heart. Every day, I was on a walker, then I was on crutches, and every day I went to the gym, and I got on a bike, because I couldn't walk yet without crutches, but I got on a bike. Every day I went to the gym, and what kind of progress you thought I saw for 156 days?
Very well.
0. So I have to go to Canada. Mark Willis wants me to come to Canada and speak to a group of mega agents on day number 155. And I get there, and now I'm on a cane. First thing Mark Willis does, and by the way, I went to the gym every single day and did what the trainers here in Phoenix told me to do. And every day I saw nothing. So Mark Willis comes up to me and he goes, how are you going to run a marathon in 3 days when you are still on a cane? I said, I do not know. I do not know. And on race day came, and it was 30 degrees in Washington DC, and I showed up and I suited up, and it took me 6 hours and 36 minutes, but I ran that friggin' marathon. And then I probably threw up right after I crossed the finish line. Because it is literally took everything in me to do it. The reason I tell you that is because it is about your mindset. I know we learn about mindset in Bold. Like I said, I'm not going to teach you anything new today that you don't already know, but I'm going to remind you of the important pieces of it. So what you do in 2008, you're going to make the decision ahead of time. You will succeed or not succeed because you choose to. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about quickly. So when we say because it's what you choose to, what gets in our way? Naysayers? Sure. Of course, naysayers. What else gets in our way?
Our own thoughts.
What?
Our own thoughts.
Your own thoughts? Yeah, the bad tapes. Please go naysayers. That's good enough.
No problem.
The bad tape in your head. We all have bad tapes. It's just a matter of what the bad tape is about. So bad tapes. What else gets in our way?
Lack of decision making.
We just need to make a flippin' decision. Just decide. Who knows Russell Shaw? Russell Shaw smoked for 27 years. And then he quit. I said, Russell, I was interviewing him at CRS in Vegas 10 years ago on stage, and I said, Russell, how'd you quit? I said, wasn't that hard? He said, quitting wasn't hard. Deciding for 27 years was hard. The only reason you guys aren't having the success that you want is because you haven't decided yet what you're going to do to achieve it. You haven't decided to be all in. You haven't decided to put it on the line. You haven't decided to be a good teammate even though you're not the star. So the question is, make a decision. A decision to do it or not do it, I do not care, but make one. Make one. Everything done on a daily basis, things aren't perfect. No one has the perfect life. It does not exist. Who knows Rick Warren, Purpose Driven Life? Anybody of you read it? He said this, you're all living a dual track in life, by which something good is always happening and something not so good is always happening. There is no get to the top of the mountain and everything's great. It does not exist. It doesn't exist for the Mr. Hendricks of the world, and it's not going to exist for you either. But you have to make a decision, and you have to decide you're going to stay committed to that decision and not get distracted by the distractions of the world. So thinking now about your vision maps, would you guys agree that if you don't make a decision, that those things on your vision maps are never going to happen? They aren't. One of the best decisions you made is to come to a company that rewards and fosters human growth, growth in your brain, and the opportunity to be around anybody you want to be around. Trying to think, number of years. 8 years ago, I did not know John Maxwell at all. I didn't start learning from him because my goal was to become his friend. The truth is, I wanted to learn, and because I made a decision to learn, and I listened to his tapes in the car, and I read his books, I became his friend. We all want the big opportunity, and we aren't willing to pick up the small ones that surround us every single day. That's the truth. So, if I could say, I want you guys to make decisions about what your life is going to look like, because otherwise you're going to get to a destination you don't intend to be at. How fun is that? Do you want to be at a destination that you never intended to get to? I don't. I want to get to the destination I intend. Well, if you're going to do that, you've got to be purposeful and you've got to make a decision. That's the easiest thing you guys can do about 2008 is decide. Decide. So now that you've decided, maybe for some of you it's to sell 24 houses. Maybe it's to sell 10. I don't know what your number is. But the first thing you have to decide, and I think the easiest, you can make a 1-3-5 around anything. we're just gonna happen to do it around real estate, is that okay? I mean, I had a 135, I didn't even know it was a 135, so I just didn't, I was with the company, but I still learning. But I had a plan around how I was gonna run that marathon. So it looks like the impossible. But the possible, or the impossible is possible when you decide and you put a team around you to help you get there. The reason I got there is not because of me, it's because I put a team around me that they had a certain piece of the plan and they executed, and so did I. That's why. So, the first thing is, make sure you get on your sheet of paper, you have one, it should look like this. So pull that out. Is it okay if I go a few minutes over today?
No,
Okay, so you might
use it
might go to
template.
1:15. Here's, yeah,
I don't have nothing.
so here's the thing. I want you guys to see how simple, how many of you guys think my life is complicated?
You have to?
It's complex, but it's still very simple. My husband said you're the most complex, simple woman I know. But here's what I want you to see. I pulled these off my bulletin board. You can see this one, if you're up here very close, that it's yellowed because it's been on there so long. It's traveled with me out of Alaska to Austin, Texas to here. These are things that I wrote up, my simple little plans when things didn't go well. So I wanted to read these to you. So this one, first one was my life list. This was 10 years ago. And my life list was influence, to influence and lead other leaders who want to influence and lead other leaders to do what's never been done. To be others focused, to value people. Am I a plus in someone's life or am I a minus? In order to be a plus, I must get selfless and be selfless, and that requires me to be intentional about it, because without being intentional about it, I'm a selfish person. Because with intentionality, I can do that. I must surround myself with great people. I have to ask myself 3 questions. Are they good for my organization? Are they good for my team? And are they good for me? It has to be yes to all 3, because I'm going to be the average of the top 5 of those people I hang around. I need to get it done, take action, and make good decisions. I will never have all the information. You'll never have all the information. However, if I wait to have it all, I'm going to miss an opportunity. I must be able to take action with only 75% of the information. I must be a risk taker, but it's got to be calculated risk. Now, these are little things within the, these other bullet points is, I was purposeful, I wrote down, I am going to make a difference. I'm going to influence other leaders who want to go and influence other leaders. I'm going to create opportunity for those that I love. I'm going to honor God, because all good things come from Him. And I'm going to have personal growth. And to do that, I'll be intentional. I wrote that 10 years ago, and I thought about today when I was coming in, like, what am I going to share with them about how to take action and how to make decisions? It's like, I made decisions. Now all I'm doing is managing to those. Do I succeed all the time? Let me ask a question, you'll know the answer to it. Jim, did you see me one time that was totally out of character? Where I kind of lost it?
Just once.
Once. How long have you known me?
A long, long time.
So what I mean, it's not perfection, but I am making a decision every day to manage to these decisions that I decided about 10 years ago.
Thank you.
And it hangs on my, you see the little hole where it hangs as a thumbtack. Now this one was my recovery plan. So when you get off track in real estate, what are you going to do? So it's not my physical recovery plan, it was my recovery plan for crap. You know, we're in trouble. So I said, well, what can I share with them that's like every day? This is more tactical. What would I do to get back on track? So number 1, I'd call my coach. Number 2, I would find someone that, I would call every single listing that I had and get a price reduction, period. I would do an open house. Open houses in Alaska. This is from Alaska. I would think through every single buyer and seller I'm working with and create my ABC list. That's what I called it then. Every appointment that I've had in the last year, I would call them back and I would get an appointment no matter what. Because regardless of whether or not they listed with me as to list their home or as a buyer, they're gonna have a lead for me. I'm gonna be a wild man, and then I put wild woman, and make 100 contacts into my database. I'm gonna use buyers to fund my listing business. Like, I read some of these things, I'm like, where did I come up with this stuff? And I asked myself this question: how many contacts am I willing to make a day to get out of this rut? And I said, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. So my goal, number 8, was to not leave the office. That's my fun.
$25 yes.
Wow.
Thank you.
And my conclusion was, I was not gonna leave the office.
You don't want to?
I don't care how long I had to stay until I had an appointment. Every day. That was my recovery plan in the late 80s when a house that I had sold the year before for $225,000, 2 years later was for sale for $25,000. So I needed a recovery plan. Like, how am I gonna recover from this? And the thing of it was, real estate wasn't the recovery. Real estate, my commissions were not the recovery. You know what the recovery was? The mindset about the opportunity that the down market was going to give me to buy real estate. And I bought real estate, like, do you know one time I got my commission was a cow, I swear. So one time my commission was a gold nugget necklace. Because the houses were like 20 grand, do the math, $600 commission, right? So, what I want you to think about is, what is your one goal? Not your 25 goals, not your 65 goals, not your to-do list. What is your one goal for next year? What is it going to be? I'm one of those people that likes to set a goal that my mindset will hit. I will hit it. What's it gonna be? Write down, what is it gonna be? Put it in the slot. Just write it down. This is for you. This isn't for anybody else. What's it gonna be? So what's the one goal? Second question. What are the 3 priorities that you are going to commit to get to this goal? Understanding that my expectation is, this is such a clear priority, that this one priority with the strategies could get you there. Did you hear that?
No, can you say it again?
Typically, you come up with 3 priorities to help you get to the goal. What I want you to be intentional and purposeful about is picking that priority such that if you only had this one with 5 strategies, this one is so powerful, it could get you to the goal. Meaning this, let's say, one of your priorities was lead gen, but then you said, well, or maybe, let me use something different. How about open houses? Now, would you guys agree, if you were really, really purposeful about open houses, you could probably, at a minimum, if you just started selling real estate, you could probably sell 24 houses in a year. So what I want you to say is, we're gonna come up with 3, but this one should be so powerful that if you did nothing else but execute that on a very focused and purposeful way, it'll get you there. What is it? What is it? Do you need people? So is it talent? Do you need people? Do you need a coach? Do you need systems? Do you need to get clear, like, who knows Steve Russell? What's Steve Russell do? Open houses. I think he has a pretty nice life. He does one thing. We try to do 25 things, and then we don't do any of them very well. So what are your 3 priorities that you are going to be purposeful about to get to that one goal? My guess is, Rich, yours is about people. I know yours is about people. At some point, it becomes about people for all of us. So for us, we're lead genning every day, but instead of for a seller or a buyer, I'm lead generating for people. Do I have enough people? No. I do not have. Do I have enough of the right people? No. So what's yours though? Because trust me, I wasn't thinking about people when I was trying to just sell enough houses as a single mom to feed 5 kids. And none of my children are small. So, do you guys have it down? What are your, yell out a couple of your priorities. What do you got?
Own my morning schedule.
Say that again.
Own my schedule.
Own your morning schedule. I'm gonna come back to that. Don't let me go past that. What else?
Networking within my industry.
Networking within your industry. Yes.
The database.
Your database. Your database is your business is your database. That's the one I chose. So I have built my entire business on that because I didn't have the Mr. Super Duper personality of Mr. Michael there. I just didn't. I was an introvert. I was a huge introvert. Like, I've had to learn to not be an introvert. So I did not database, touching them with meaningful messages over time. Now let me come back to what you said, which was own your morning schedule. You come away with this one thing today, it will change your life. How do you own your morning schedule?
Make it a habit.
Make it a habit, you time block, but what else?
Say no.
Make a choice, you get up earlier, but what really goes into how successful your morning will be is what you do tonight. I can't tell you what time to go to bed. I can't tell you, to not eat late, and I can't tell you to not drink the 3rd glass of wine. What I am saying is that if you're gonna be purposeful about your morning, I don't know how you do it and get up at 7. I don't know how you do that. So for me, I called it my 3 big rock theory. If you ask any of my kids, if I'm pushing them, I'm gonna say, what are your 3 big rocks? So the night before, what did I have to, I spent yesterday working on getting this lined out. It all came down to 3 things. Vision map, 1, 3, 5, and their success list. Boom. So, but then Casey, others helped me. Casey got this set up, Casey pulled the materials, blah, blah, blah. But the point is that the night before, you have to decide what your 3 big rocks are tomorrow. Of which, when you get them done, it would have been a great day. And you decide the night before. Then the question is, do you have everything ready the night before? How are you gonna come in and do lead generation when you don't have your list? So you're gonna wait till you get to the office the next day when the whirlwind hits you and then create it?
Yes.
That's what most of us do. And then we just go slit the other 3 tires, and you guys have heard that story before. Right? So, the night before, the preparation, it only takes 30 minutes. Do you think I got up this morning and now I'm just asking, some of you will know the answer, some of you will give your answer. Do you think I got up this morning and decided what I was going to wear today? No, I did not. Because of our jam-packed week, I got everything ready yesterday for all 3 days. Pressed, what jewelry, what shoes, how it's going to be cold, we're going to Prescott tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. I prepared ahead of time, because here's what I also know. Today, something can happen that's unexpected. When you've got 5 kids, trust me, it happens often. And I've had a daughter hit on a scooter, up in Flagstaff, hit and thrown in the ditch. You name it, it has happened in our family. Anybody very close to me goes, Nilda, she's known me for 10 years, how in the world does this crap keep happening to you? I do not know. In John, chapter James, it talks about the fact that obviously my character still needs refined. And I keep asking God, seriously? Brillo pads you've used, I'm like, But what I would say is that you have to prepare because there's always the world happening around you. And somebody's going to need you or need something and you're going to get derailed. You've got to prepare the night before. That means you also have to decide what time are you going to go to bed, what time are you going to get up, what are you going to eat, how much you're going to eat or drink. All that stuff will derail you or set you up for success. most, again, most of you that are close to me know that if you're texting me or calling me at 9 o'clock at night, you're not gonna get me. Cause that's what time I go to bed, cause if I don't go to bed then, I'm not gonna get up when I need to get up. I do not like to move fast in the morning. I mean, I move fast, but I like to saunter. I don't like to be pushed. I like to think. It's my thinking time. I like to write things down. Like I brought my thinking paper out here, then I took it back and put it in my office because I'm like, because I'll think of things as I'm talking to you. Because in the morning, I think. Don't ask me anything after 4. I'm worthless. Worthless. So also understand, are you a morning person or a night person? Which are you? And just prepare. So I prepare. If you look at my calendar, my Google Calendar, it is very, very prepared. It's time blocked. I'm not someone that just gets up and goes, oh, what am I going to do today? So my point to you guys is you have to prepare. You have to make a decision, you have to have a plan, and then you have to prepare. You have to prepare. And for all you say, but I have kids, and they have dance, and come on. We all have kids, or grandkids, or brothers who have kids. We all have dogs and cats and people, and that's just part of life. But the question is, let me ask you a question. Don't raise your hands. How many of you watch more than an hour of TV a night? Just a question. No judgment. But you have to decide. You're not going to be able to do everything. So what's important to you? There aren't that many things that are important to me, so I can narrow down my focus pretty darn fast, and I can get purposeful about it because I'm not worried about all that other stuff. People talk to me about shows and stuff on TV all the time, have no idea what they're talking about. None. Zero. Nada. I watch sports, and I watch the news in the morning to figure out what's going on in the world. That is it. And I'll go to the movies with my husband. Which I just saw the one on the Arizona firefighters. Aw. Yeah. So, what other 2 priorities do you guys have? Tell me your priorities that you're going to have to get to your goal. And be willing to let me coach you. I guess I'm just telling you I'm going to anyway. What's a priority?
6 listing appointments a week.
6 listing appointments a week. That is a great priority. Now what I want you to think about is what 5 things do you have to do to make sure that happens?
3 hours of lead generation every day.
So 3 hours of lead generation, you don't have an appointment. Now what are you going to do?
Keep doing it till I get an appointment.
Okay, but your dog has to go to the beauty parlor at 3. Your niece has to be picked up at 2 for dance lessons, and you still don't have an appointment.
Time block to make sure that I can do everything to get that appointment. Keep going.
So how committed are you? Would you let someone else pick up your niece and take her to dance if it needed to be?
Yes.
We say that, but would we really do it? All my kids have my Uber account number, and it's for a reason. Now, let me just say, they're not little. They're all adults. But my point is that we go, oh, well, I did my 3 hours. Well, then if you did your 3 hours and you don't have an appointment, can I say something in all honesty? You weren't purposeful when you did it, because I cannot fathom doing it 3 hours. Because you may have did it 3 hours and talked to one person. Well, that's kind of silly. You can have a meaningful conversation in less than 5 minutes and get an appointment. And have 5 steps included in that 5 minutes. I guarantee you. So it's not about the amount of time. Gary says time block for this much time. But is it really about the time, or is it getting the result? So how long do you need to call till you get an appointment? If you tell yourself, if you make the decision, I'm going to call as long as it takes in order to get an appointment, do you really need to know anything else? And then the question is, do you stay until you get an appointment? Lori, how long did you stay during Gold last time? It was like in January. And I was up front talking to someone, and it was like 8 o'clock at night or 7.
Yeah, I came afterwards and I was here.
And you didn't want to stay.
No, that Rich and Heather were harassing me, so I just kept calling. I got a listing appointment, and the next day I got the listing.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
But she didn't. I remember she didn't want to stay, but she said, "Okay, I'll go do it." We were chit-chatting. wasting time, you know, we were chit-chatting, but she actually went and took action. She finally came out, she goes, guys, I got a listing appointment. So if you knew that you can't leave until you get one, how much more purposeful would you be about the conversations you're having? So on that one thing, could you not be successful if you just adopted that one decision? I'm not leaving the office till I have an appointment. Then if you're not getting any listings, then I would say, Rich, sorry, your script sucked, buddy. You and me, we need to role play, right? If you're not getting any of the listings, then you need some, it's a skill issue. Most of us in this room, it's not a skill issue. We have the skill once we're talking to somebody or in front of someone. We're not purposeful about getting the appointment.
I think it's also hard because when you're on the phone lead genning for 3 hours and there's so much more going on in your mind, like you're thinking about you have to go on this appointment in the afternoon and you have to do this and that, you're not really just living in the moment and being purposeful with each call and blocking everything else out because your mind isn't 100% there.
You just made my entire script for why you planned the night before. So you're not thinking about that appointment, you already have it done and ready to go. It is, you guys, I'm telling you, this business is not that hard. You just get purposeful and get into some habits that will allow you to then absorb crap that happens during the day that you do have to address. If you don't get into those habits, you're going to be derailed, distracted all the time. But if you just did that one thing, which you guys all agree, if you made that decision, that barring, I call it the house burning down, meaning something traumatic, you don't leave the office till you have an appointment, but you guys all not get more purposeful about it. So if you're not purposeful about it, it's not that, my question is, I don't know that you have a big enough why. Or that you really made the decision. Trust me, I'm talking to me right now more than anyone else, because there's some things I need to be doing and I've been lollygagging that I need to get purposeful about. And I know I need to do it, but I haven't made the decision to. Seriously. So when I'm telling you guys, this is stuff, this never goes away. So the last piece of this would be, once you decide what this is, then what are the 5 things that you're going to do to make that happen? What's the strategy? A strategy for having, maybe your strategy is like hers, or your priority is to get 6 appointments a week. So then the question is, what are you going to do to get those 6 appointments? Well, one of them could be, I'm not going to leave the office every day until I have at least 1. Some days you're going to need 2, but I'm not going to leave until I have 1. Could that not be a strategy? Then the question only is, who do I call? Who am I going to call? You don't know who to call, and you have no friends, nothing. Then just find somebody in here that has a listing and circle prospect around their listing. Trust me, I told my son yesterday. He kept giving me all this stuff. I said, you know what, son? I'm really tired of hearing your excuses. They're just excuses. You either want this or you don't. If you don't, you're going to continue to be where you are. Your choice. Your choice. All of this is a choice. So give me another strategy other than staying as long as it takes to get an appointment that you could do in order to get 6 appointments a week.
Door knock.
You could door knock. You could door knock. And gets back to, door knocking gets back to the same thing about calling. You can say I'm going to call for 3 hours, but the bottom line is, you can just make a decision to call until you get an appointment. And trust me, you're going to get it a lot faster than just going, I'm going to call for 3 hours. So same thing with door knocking. You can door knock or you can door knock. Door knock. You can door knock or you can door knock. If you're going to door knock and you want to be purposeful about it, then what you say is, I'm going to have my materials ahead, I'm going to have my value proposition, I'm going to be able to tell them what I'm going to tell them if they are home, and I'm going to tell them what I want them to know if they're not home, because you're going to get my information. And you're going to be purposeful about it, right? Would you guys, if you think about it, if you just did either of these 2 things, do you think you'd get to there? If you were purposeful around it. But again, make no mistake about it, it all comes back to the crap, the whirlwind. So it's 1:20, and I know we're over, but let me just say to you, I showed this, and I had a little thing on it. If you guys don't know how to reduce it down, let me just say this to you. This is my party word. So here's the goal. Any of you want me to spend 30 minutes around your business plan for next year You get it ready and you send it to me and I will commit the time. I'll commit 30 minutes to sit down with you and go over it. But I'm not gonna commit the, I sent this out this morning. And it is so true, and it's like, it's kind of negative, but I'm like, this is my mantra. I am tired of doing the impossible for the ungrateful. So,
You're so funny.
if you want help,
Right in the heart.
will you just help me to build my 135? The answer is no. Go to KW Connect, go to a coach here in our office. No. The same thing I told my son. You want help? I'm not putting in any help until I see you putting forth the effort. If you put forth the effort and build your business plan, I will sit down and go through it with you and help you. Yes.
What would you like to see so it's good for your time?
I want to see this baby filled out with purpose. So when I ask you questions about it, you have answers. You didn't just copy off of Ralph. Okay? I want you to really give some thought to it. Okay? So here's my last piece of advice. This was my huge aha. I don't remember who told me this, but it was like the best thing on the planet was put a yellow pad next to your phone. That was back when we actually used, that's how long ago it was. And every time you do something you never want to do again, write it down. So what I did is I created a stop doing list. And trust me, within a couple weeks you'll have a full job description for somebody. But I wrote down all the things that I did not ever want to do again, ever. Like, my children all know this, my husband knows this. If I never had to go to a grocery store again, I won't. If I never had to go shopping again, I won't. So guess who buys all my clothes?
He does.
My husband and my kids. They buy all my clothes. You know, it's like what you put out there. Like, you guys probably sitting there going, how did you get them to do that? Well, my daughters got tired of seeing me in clothes that were like, you're never wearing that again. Because I don't care. You guys think I care? I don't care. They care. Like, you're embarrassing me, Mom. Okay, well, all right, here's some money. Go buy me something, all right? I'm not kidding you. So, grocery store, the greatest thing on the planet that came out for me, knowing what you know about me, is what? Right. I could get on my app and I could say, do I want it between 8 and 10 this morning or would I prefer this afternoon? I do not have to go to the store. Okay, so I wrote a not doing list, stuff I never ever wanted to do again. And that left a very small thing of what I do want to do. This, and maybe when I was younger, yeah, when I was younger I still clean my own toilets. As a matter of fact, last weekend I still clean my own toilets. Typically though, I have a house cleaner. But the point is that in the beginning you do it all, don't we? The more successful you become, Lori, you should not be cleaning your toilets anymore. You have enough success, you have enough financial wherewithal, someone should be cleaning your toilets.
I said that yesterday. When I was cleaning toilets. So I'm hiring somebody.
So great, we work all weekends so we can clean the toilets.
Put it out there.
Are you kidding me?
That's what I did.
That is not living life, unless you like to clean
That was
toilets. I like to mow
God.
the lawn. I don't have lawns down here. Yeah. But you get it, it's therapeutic for me. So what I want you guys to do is if you have to do a brain dump on this to-do list, do it so that you just, But then out of that, what really needs done? Your 3 big rocks the night before, you guys have got to make a decision about what you want in your vision, about what you want next year, and then you just have to decide. And you guys, honestly, it doesn't take 3 priorities and 5 in each one of them to get there. You can narrow it down to very simple. I started this conversation with this. Real estate's much simpler than we make it. We make it way too complex. I'm not saying it's easy, but these concepts are easy. Executing them, the difference between wildly successful and wildly average is that successful people are willing to do the boring day after day after day until the 4th quarter hits and they have ridiculous results. Now, most of the time, because I'm in Scottsdale and you guys would have no idea, and I'm only saying this to prove a point. This year, my company is going to close 750 transactions. 5 years ago, we were closing 200. 3 years ago, we were closing 250. Massive change between wildly average and wildly successful was getting Simpler, simple, simple, simple. I tell them that all the time. Reduce it to simple. People will only execute when they understand it, they understand the why, and we keep it simple. That is, sounds dumb, but that is the key to success in real estate, is to keep it simple and keep the distractions out. Do you think I came today with something to drink? Do you think I have snacks in my purse? Do you think I have allergy medicine in there? Because I have terrible allergies. If any of you saw me last week, you know what it looked like. No, I went to the John Maxwell event for 3 days, wore no makeup. Because again, I know you guys think I do, but I really don't care. So the point is that are you prepared? Do you have stuff in your purse? Are you prepared? Or do you walk out the door like most of us do, and it's like, yeah, I did. I'm starving. That's right. I'm gone all day, and I have no food and nothing to drink, and I need some Advil, and you got to be prepared. So, the 3 minutes left, because I went a half hour. I'm going to go a half hour over. Questions? What's your questions when I say all this to you?
What happens when you don't do that one thing? You tell yourself, I'm gonna do one appointment, and I'm not gonna leave the office, I'll get it. It's midnight, you don't have it. You don't, or what do you do?
So if that were to happen, I'd say, you know what? I'm being kind now. You might have a skill issue. You might need someone to help you with some scripts. So if that were to happen to me, I'd say, I probably need to talk to someone who's done it. Don't go hire somebody that's never done it. You might talk to someone who's done it and say, I'm committed to this, and I stayed till midnight. Well, let's say 9, because you really shouldn't be calling people after 9. I stayed till 9, and I couldn't get an appointment. I'd say, tell me what you were saying. What were you saying, and who were you calling? And I would help you with, well, gosh, maybe think about saying it this way. And try that tonight. So that's what I would do. Because if you're putting in the effort, you've called from 8 in the morning till 9 at night and didn't get an appointment, it's probably a skill issue. That can be fixed. Skill can be fixed. His drive, he either wants it or he does not. That you cannot make a decision for someone. Oh, I have 3 boys, all wildly high eyes. I've been trying to make decisions for them their entire lives, and they will not do what I want them to do. Darndest thing. Until someone like, someone says something to them that I've been saying for 15 years, and they're like, oh, Mom!
Yeah.
Okay, other questions? That was a great question. Rich?
One of the biggest things as you guys are going through this is, the financial thermostat. When you say you want to make $100,000 a year, yet if you made $80,000 a year, you're going to be okay. Think about it. Whatever that number is, if you're going to be okay with making 20% less, but that 20% is 180, or 80,000 now if you're okay with 70,000. If that's what you're comfortable with, and you say, yeah, that'd still be good, that's what you're gonna act on.
That's where you're gonna hit.
Every day, you're gonna act like that. So it's okay, it's good, great, world class. All right, you're just good. If your goal is to be world class, 30% less of your goal, and it's still okay with you, is not acceptable. It shouldn't be acceptable. That's okay, but that should happen no matter what. Come hell or high water, you're gonna hit the 70,000. Now put your great goal and then put your world class goal.
Perfect. That's a great point, Rich. Because because you will only go to where most of us, like, we'll put this great goal, wouldn't that be great? But if you don't need it, you're not gonna hit it. So what do I have to hit? What would be awesome? And what'd you say, world class?
Good, great, world class.
Good, great, world class. And then tell people, my goal was to make $100,000 in real estate, not net. I didn't even know really the difference. I was a finance major. I did know the difference, but I wasn't thinking it that way. It took me 3 years. 3 years. And my goal was to make $500,000 net. And my goal was to make $1 million net. And now my goal last year was for my expansion locations, not my hub, giving them any money. My expansion locations to net $1 million. And now my goal is to give away $1 million. I'm gonna have to make a lot more money for that. But I can see it happening. Because now I'm purposeful. Yeah, it wasn't very much fun after running a half marathon yesterday to go down to the homeless shelter afterwards. Like there could have, I would have liked to go home. Well, no, I can't say I wanted to go home and watch football, because right now I'm not happy with that. But what I would say is that I'm acting as if, I guarantee you, that just happens to be my thing because I was homeless. Maybe your thing is something completely different. But I know this, children will never, ever feel hope until they feel safe. So I'm doing my part to help them feel safe so that they can have the hope that it doesn't always have to be like this. And so anyway, any other questions from today? 3 ahas and we can go home. 30 seconds. Yes.
Figure out your 3 rocks the night before.
Figure out your 3 big rocks the night before. Guys, you can have a wildly great life if you just do 3 great things a day. Not 25. It only takes one of those priorities to hit your objective if you do it really focused. We create all because we're supposed to, right? So the form says that we are. Just telling you, you can hit it with just one of them if you become world class at it. So what is it going to be? Customer service? Is it going to be lead gen? What's it going to be? Okay, one more. Yes.
Oh yeah, I really important appreciation that you actually look over our goal, just appreciation.
So you say this appreciation is that I'm willing to look over your goal. You have to remember here, I didn't say I'd look over everybody's, right? I said only if you put in the work. Because my goal is the only joy I truly get out of life is when I can be others focused. You're only others focused when I value people and I'm a plus in their life instead of a minus. So in my mind, that's one way I can be a plus. I can be a plus in all the different things that you need, but that I can, but only if you're willing to put the work in. If you're not willing to put the work in, I have 3 kids that don't want to put the work in, so get in line. Right? I shouldn't say that. I really just have one that's still having trouble.
I have 2 on my hand. Both boys.
Okay, thank you all for coming. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for listening. We're here to help you have the lives that you want. But you've got to make okay. And if you guys want, this afternoon we're doing a top producers panel with big stargates like who's on there about what they learned from Gary's mastermind.